So has Perry figured out to navigate what for years has been called the third rail of American politics, or is saying Social Security won't be there for too long a recipe for political disaster? CNN contributor Erick Erickson is with us tonight from Macon, Georgia. He's the editor-in-chief of the conservative blog RedState.com. Republican strategist Chip Saltzman, Mike Huckabee guy back in 2008. He's in Nashville tonight. Democratic strategist and CNN contributor Maria Cardona with me right here in Washington. Chip, I want to go to you first based on your experience in Iowa, your experience in campaigns. If you listen to Governor Perry there, he says, push back to Romney, I want to fix it, don't scare seniors. But then later in the day, he looks over at the young people and says, this might not be there for you. Can you campaign on that?
I think he can, and we all know the math on Social Security. When it started, there were 80 workers for every one retiree, and we lived to about 65, and now there's 2 workers for every retiree, and hopefully we're going to live a lot longer than that, at least hope you will, John. But it is really in Iowa, there is a lot of frustration with the federal government as a whole. I think Governor Perry is trying to use Social Security as a way to kind of talk about the federal government mismanagement. He's kind of been, I'm not going to say wishy-washy, but he's kind of been both sides of this. It's a Ponzi scheme, but then we're going to fix it. Then he talks about how it's not going to be their day. Governor Romney clearly thinks this is an issue that he can ride a long way. He's been riding it for a week, and I think we're going to see it for several more weeks all the way up until Iowa.
And part of it, Eric, is, you know, A, can you campaign saying that? But B, can you campaign if you're giving a bit of a mixed message? And I understand it if the governor wants to explain it, that if you're on program now, it won't change. If you're 50 or pick an age and you're approaching the program, it won't change. But his message, after Romney attacks him saying you say it's unconstitutional, send it back to the states, you call it a failure, and then to say publicly, you know, these young guys, it won't be there for you. You're paying into it now maybe, but it won't be there for you. Is he handing something to Governor Romney, or is he just being bold and has he figured out something no politician before him has?
You know, I think he's figured out that we're at a tipping point in the country where even polls of senior citizens show that they kind of get it. That they're worried about their grandchildren's future and their grandchildren's Social Security. But, you know, John, for the life of me, I can't figure out why Romney want to stick on this. We've got 9% unemployment in the country. No one's really talking about ending Social Security. Even Perry, in the several debates, has said, and in his book says, it's not worth refighting 70 years. It's time to fix it. There are 9% unemployment in the country. It may go up. We'll see where it goes. But this seems like it's a distraction from the issue. I've got to tell you, they're looking at the CNN poll from this past week and looking at several of the other polls. The senior citizens seem to not really be too worried about what Romney's or Perry's going to do, and the polling suggests they think they're going to have Social Security. They are, however, worried about the future.
Well, let's look at some of the polling, because Gallup did some polling on trying to figure out if this is hurting Governor Perry among Republicans. Do Governor Perry's statements on Social Security make you more or less likely to support him for president? 19% of Republicans say more likely, 24% say no difference, 19% less likely. So you could call that almost a wash. But here's where I think it could matter. Look at independents. 12% say more likely, 21% no difference, 32% less likely. I assume, Maria Cardona, that is where Democrats will direct the attack ads if Governor Perry emerges as the nominee.
That's exactly right, John, because, again, you see in the general election, it's independents that matter. But there's a very important point here. I actually think that this whole thing between Perry and Romney on Social Security is silly, and this is something that Democrats are going to continue to point out as well, because while Perry is using the fire bombs in terms of the rhetoric and calling it unconstitutional and a Ponzi scheme, Romney wants to do the exact same thing as Perry in terms of privatization. Privatization of Social Security basically means getting rid of it as we know it and putting it in the hands of Wall Street. So both of these candidates, let's be very clear to the American people, want to do something to Social Security that will basically make it go away the way that we see it today. And neither one of them
George W. Bush won 2 elections. George W. Bush won 2 elections, and that was his position. You could put some of it, a small percentage of it, in private accounts, but the economy is a different place.
But
and I think that
exactly.
the big issue there is the economy.
And George W. Bush failed to
Chip and Eric, as the Republicans in the conversation, let me ask you this. It has something to do with this. So Governor Romney, his campaign says we're focused on New Hampshire. We didn't participate in the straw poll. He sends this email out into Iowa. He has said quietly that he might sneak back into Iowa. They are calling people out there saying, you know what, don't say Governor Romney's not going to play in Iowa. At some point, we'll invest more. Does he need now to invest some in Iowa just to make sure Governor Perry doesn't get a big victory and a big bounce? Chip, to you first.
Yeah, I think Governor Romney needs to play somewhere else besides New Hampshire. I mean, these 2 guys are running in 2 different places. Perry's running in Iowa and South Carolina, and Governor Romney in New Hampshire. if he gets a big win in Iowa, he's going to have lots of momentum. He's going to go into South Carolina. Historically, our party, whoever wins 2 out of the first 3 nominating contests, win the nomination. And Governor Romney knows the map does not look good for him, and he needs to do something to slow Governor Perry down. And I think that's what today was about.
So, Eric, do you go in there and say, all right, you hope Bachmann wins? At this moment, you probably think Romney's going to win, but do you go in there essentially to try to take a lot of moderate Republicans? I know we talk about evangelicals and the Tea Party in Iowa, but there are a lot of moderate Republicans. Does Romney try to say, let me get that so that I can come in second or a strong third and at least deny Perry some votes? Is that the idea?
Yeah, to a degree, yes. He wants to kill Perry's momentum. When you look at the calendar, the first 4 races are going to be Iowa, then New Hampshire, then they're going to go to the Nevada caucuses in South Carolina. A lot of candidates like to pole vault over Iowa, dismiss Nevada, go into South Carolina. It's a southern state, South Carolina, so Perry's got strength there. Nevada should be Romney's strong point, except Perry just got the very popular Governor Brian Sandoval's endorsement out there. So there's no leapfrog. If Perry comes in strong in Iowa, he goes straight to South Carolina. Forget New Hampshire. And then all of a sudden, he's got the popular governor of Nevada campaigning for him. He and Rick Scott are really good friends in Florida, though Scott hasn't endorsed yet. Romney sees what's happening here. He's got to get into Iowa to take some of that momentum. So even if Perry comes in first, the headline is not that Perry, but that Mitt Romney had a surprisingly strong second.
Everybody stay put. We got a fascinating game of chess playing out on the Republican side. Everybody stay put when we come back. More on the Republican infighting. And one of the Republican candidates tries today to make some hay with a potential scandal involving the Obama administration. We spent some time Wednesday night detailing questions about whether political favoritism helped the now bankrupt clean energy company get more than a $500 million Obama administration. Now that company, Solyndra, is bankrupt. Taxpayers will pick up the tab. Congress wants to know why the administration approved the loan at a time some staffers were raising questions. Congress also wants to know why once the company started having cash flow problems, the administration then agreed to restructure the loan. The way they restructured it puts private investors ahead of taxpayers in the event of a default. The FBI is looking into the company, too. And today, Solyndra made its debut as a campaign issue.
Just like Solyndra, where there's a big payoff to a big political donor and a big abuse of executive privilege. That's all we're seeing coming out of Washington, D.C. It's wrong. It's wrong to abuse your executive authority. It's wrong to pay off political donors. That's wrong. That's not America. We don't do that.
Eric Erickson, Chip Saltzman, Maria Cardona still with us. Eric, to you first. Passionate there from Congresswoman Bachmann. Does she need to be careful, though? There are a lot of legitimate questions about what happened here. But we don't have any evidence yet, firm evidence, to connect the dots as she does in that speech. Fair game, or does she need to be careful?
I think Solyndra has become fair game. I mean, as much fair game as Halliburton ever was for the Bush administration. And I think there are enough tangential facts linking people to the Obama administration that the Republicans will probably be able to message it better than Halliburton, better than the Democrats did on Halliburton. Although I've got to say, after this past week with Michelle Bachmann and the HPV stuff, I'm a little bit leery of her taking the lead on it because it may blow up in their face. And I mean, no disrespect to Congresswoman Bachmann, but things are viewed a little more skeptically when she runs with things right now.
Chip, help me out. Why would she do that? Obviously, jobs and the economy are issue number one. She's out in Iowa where you're trying to appeal to cultural conservatives and Tea Parties. Give us, from a strategic, tactical sense, why do you think, all right, let's try this today?
It feeds into all the frustration that people are feeling about Washington. You've got a big company that got a big federal government loan and went bankrupt after a bunch of junior staffers said this was a bad deal, and then a political donor, President Obama, visits the White House, and then 2 weeks later it's approved. It feeds the story itself. And Congressman Bachmann, whether you love her or hate her, she knows how to get in front of a story and make it her own. And I think she's going to do this one for the next couple of days, especially in Iowa, because it feeds what's going on in Iowa and across the country, a great frustration with all things Washington.
How nervous are Democrats about this? Some of the Democrats on the Congressional Committee investigating this, they were told by the White House at first we had no involvement in this loan. So all the Democrats vote no when the Republicans want to subpoena the records. Those records come up, and it turns out the Chief of Staff's office, other offices in the White House, we're asking questions about it. Again, I want to be careful. There are legitimate questions about what happened here, but how nervous are Democrats that the president who promised not to play the old Washington games, promised to be the most transparent in history, might have a problem on his hands here?
Well, I don't think it's the greatest perception, but in terms of Democrats being nervous. I think that both Democrats and Republicans need to be nervous because no one right now in Washington, frankly, except for the Democrats, are talking about jobs. And this is where I think Michelle Bachmann needs to have, she needs a reality check because she's not talking about jobs. Perry and Romney are not talking about jobs. Jobs is a #1 issue for Americans right now. Yes, they're frustrated with Congress, and they're frustrated with Washington. And let me just say, yes, the White House needs to get all of this information out now instead of the dribble. But again, Americans are focused about jobs.
And the company went bankrupt after stimulus money to create jobs, and so all these jobs the company was supposed to create, there aren't any jobs anymore. They've all gone because of this company, and it was an Obama donor involved who's now in priority to taxpayers to get money back. That doesn't look just bad. That
but
directly
you know what?
implicates.
In terms of perception, Bachmann also attacked Perry on the Merck issue. So, she does have to be careful, and Republicans have to be careful too. They should focus on just the #1 issue here.
I think the intensity here tells me that we've got an issue that's going to be debated on the campaign trail, and I would note the Democrat in the group said the administration needs to come up with the answers and more quickly. That's it for us tonight. We're out of time. Have a great weekend. See you right here on Monday. Anderson Cooper 360.